This is TWiT.
Don't miss All About Android every week. We talk about the latest news, hardware, apps, and now all the developer-y goodness happening in the Android ecosystem. I'm Jason Howell, also joined by Ron Richards, Florence Ion, and our newest co-host on the panel, Wen Tu Dao, who brings her developer chops. Really great stuff. We also invite people from all over the Android ecosystem to talk about this mobile platform we love so much. Join us every Tuesday, All About Android on twit.tv. So, what's on your wrist? What's going on here?
Well, if you look at it from this side, it's a Pixel Watch with a nice little, what is this? Limoncello? I keep calling it limoncello. Lemongrass band. And if you look at it from this side, then you will see the stock gray band.
See, I like the multicolor thing. I think that looks good.
And then, I don't know if you can see this, but let's see. Turn on. Let's do this. I got a Pochaco watch face that I made. There we go. You can kind of see it.
Can sort of see that, yeah.
Yes.
So I only just, as I said, I unboxed this an hour and a half ago, maybe. And so all I was able to do was kind of get it, past the intro setup thing. And I think the two things that struck me are, this thing is really like thin. Like, I got to say that the profile on this is really flat.
That's good to hear.
Yeah, I mean, I feel that way. I don't know how anybody else, but it is also kind of small. Like the watch face is a little small for my liking. But the rounded glass scares me.
Why?
It just looks so exposed. Like, there is no protection whatsoever on that sucker. Did
you see what happened to the Verge's review unit?
No, what happened?
It cracked.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
How?
Yeah. Victoria Song did the review, and I believe she wrote about it in there about like what happened. But yeah, they cracked it, and they had to get a new unit.
Oh boy.
Yeah, the durability factor is not so high on the Pixel Watch. Okay, so let's talk about it. The best thing about the Pixel Watch is how it looks.
Yeah,
I am still writing my review. So all I did last week is I wrote like a little post about my initial thoughts. And then I kind of spent the weekend getting to know it because I have been really overwhelmed by the Fitbit of it all. I haven't used Fitbit in 5 years. And the last time I used it, I wasn't even using it very seriously. And I didn't start seriously tracking my walks, my workouts, and things of the sort until I got my Galaxy Active Watch in 2019. And that is on the Samsung Health ecosystem. So the idea of changing ecosystems really put me off to the point that I was kind of putting off reviewing this watch because I didn't want to interrupt my routine. So that's
fair enough.
One thing to think about. If you're not already in the Fitbit family, that's something to think about. Also, what's really weird is that you have access to the Fitbit. So you use the Fitbit app and the Wear OS app on your smartphone to sync with the watch. But the Fitbit app sees the Pixel Watch as a Fitbit smartwatch and then offers for you to install apps from the Fitbit App Store.
Ooh.
So
that's confusing.
Like, what?
So here's a question. Here's a question for you. Do I have to use the Fitbit app at all?
Yes.
You do?
You do. You have to use the Fitbit app if you want to get all the tracking. Google Fit is actually not on the Pixel Watch.
What?
Another shout. I'm going to give the Verge another shout out for writing about that too. They also wrote about that. They said that the Pixel Watch doesn't have Google Fit. So, yeah.
Wow. And so as someone who's invested in Google Fit all these years, I'm feeling like a moron. So like, are we going to see the end of Google Fit soon, you think?
That's a good question.
Actually, I'm sorry. I take that back. It's missing from the Fossil Watch, not the Pixel Watch. I do apologize to everybody. I did not mean to mess us up. I did read a lot of headlines, though, the last couple of days. So you can imagine why I made that mistake. And I apologize. But I haven't set up Google Fit on the Pixel Watch because I didn't need to. It kind of just like it started me down the Fitbit track. So it very much is suggesting that you use Fitbit as the sole like fitness ecosystem here.
Yeah, I mean, it's part of the whole setup process, right? It pops up the app and says, here's where you can download it. What, you want to one-click download the Fitbit app? Yeah.
Correct.
So I have it running.
But remember that there's a new Health Connect API that Google added, and that's supposed to help the different fitness apps talk to each other a little more easily and sort of share data. And what I noticed, and I kind of liked this, one of the downsides of my testing like these different ecosystems is that not everything is syncing everywhere. But I noticed that as long as my Samsung results are syncing to Google Fit, that Google Fit will sync it to Fitbit as long as you have the Health Connect set up.
Okay.
Does that make sense what I said?
I mean, yeah, that makes sense. Sort of.
So I'm just saying I've like been testing Fitbit by not even wearing the Pixel Watch. Like I can wear my Galaxy Watch 4 out because that's actually still my smartwatch. So it's confusing, and that's kind of why I'm dragging my feet a little bit on the review, is because it's all this like ecosystem stuff that I'm just like, this is really confusing, and I don't like that I have had to change my routine. But otherwise, the watch is like really, the hardware is wonderful. It's beautiful. Maybe not the most durable, so something to think about. The crown is just as fluid and as smooth as the one on the Apple Watch Series 8, which I've also been testing out the last couple of weeks. The touch mechanism and just interacting with it, it's all like a solidly great piece of hardware, but it is also missing some sensors that the Galaxy Watch 5 and the Apple Watch Series 8 currently have. And the most important one right now is the body temperature sensor. So
what can you do with the body temperature sensor that you cannot do with the Pixel Watch as a result?
So right now the body temperature sensor is dormant in the Galaxy Watch 5, but on the Apple Watch, it kind of helps you with fertility tracking. So to kind of like,
oh, thank God, that's what I've been looking for. Right. So that's really like the one. Sorry.
I mean, not all. It's, fertility is just a body. It's a function of the body that some people need to track, but I also imagine that would really help people who are tracking maybe COVID symptoms or things of the sort. And the other thing to note, by the way, is is it the blood oxygen monitor, the SpO2 monitor. That's how I'm looking at it in my head, is currently dormant as well on the Pixel Watch. So you can't use it currently. So it's all just, if you want to do period tracking, you can do that with Fitbit manually. But the other thing about Fitbit that I really don't like is there's a really heavy emphasis on weight and tracking weight. And I just don't like that. Like, I don't care. I just want to track my sleep and my steps. Like, I'm not doing this.
Does it require you to do that?
I mean, like I use Google Fit to track my miles run and to track my weight. Like straight up, like I have no qualms against it. I'm not using it aggressively, but I do use it to, I have a Bluetooth scale that I step on it automatically syncs and writes it. That way I can see the fluctuations, and like I've identified patterns when I'm at home and drinking lots of water and I'm keeping weight off versus when I travel and eat like crap and then I gain, little things like that. But I think everyone has. And meanwhile, I'm not tracking my fertility. Everybody has, the different areas of health tracking that they want to provide, that they want to keep track of. So, like, I understand why they offer it, and that's why I was asking if you need to use the Fitbit thing, because I'm not really I don't care about my sleep tracking. I don't care about my heart rate. I don't care about any of that sort of stuff. I mainly want to use it to track my running and my distance and like that sort of stuff. And so like, I don't want to go super hardcore into it. I just want something that does it passively, so I don't need to worry about it. So,
well, the good news is that you can remove the weight goal on here. But the weird news is that it says I have 95 pounds to lose.
Oh, well, that's just wrong.
Right.
Like,
That is
You just
wrong.
ignore that. Just ignore that.
No, it's literally wrong. Like there is no possible way that I could lose that and be a human being. It would just be a limb.
That is absolutely wrong. I wonder how it's coming up with that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really strange where it's getting some of the things. So as you can see, me and Fitbit aren't vibing. We're not vibing, and that's what's actually making it really hard for me to like this watch. Also, the proprietary clasping mechanism, big bummer if you're like me and you buy a bunch of cheap stuff off Amazon.
Absolutely. Anything proprietary.
Yeah.
Like how long have we had watch strap, very like commonly used, accepted, why they accepted watch strap. Interchangeable watch straps. I mean, I just feel like that's at this point, if you're doing a watch and you're not doing that, you better have a really good reason why you don't do that.
Yeah.
And
Apple does it because
first watch.
It will still work for Apple to do something proprietary, and look at them now. There's a huge accessory market just for the Apple Watch, which
And so does Google want that? Is that what Google's going for here? Like, oh, maybe we can have what Apple has.
That's what I'm thinking about. But you know what? If it's not something that's widely adopted, like AliExpress is not going to print it out.
Yeah.
It's just not. So I'm not going to be able to find anything like cheap and fun. Like, like my current watch right now. Look at this fun like band that I got for it. See, it's all like clear and see-through, and you push the watch inside, and
that's neat.
Yeah, that's
but we're just getting started though. I mean, I think that the connector system for the bands seems pretty, I don't know, innovative, but cool. Like, is it fun to change? Like you put two colors on your bands. That's a start, right?
Yeah, it's easier on the nails. I will say that than like pinching the teeny tiny little screws.
Yeah.
But there's a learning curve. You kind of have to it's a little weird because you have to slide it over the button as you're pushing it.
I mean, that's like I've done zero research on how to switch the band out, and it took me half a second to figure out that little.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
can't
the
see
same as the Apple Watch.
There's just a little button here. Yeah. You tap in. It's almost like a button that you're pressing to control something on the phone, but it happens to be the switch that lets the band come out. That's super easy.
So Flo, let me ask you this: I have not had a Android-based wearable since the G Watch.
The Gwatch,
the LG G Watch. So I've decided to return to wearables now with Wear OS and stuff like that. Did I make the right? I mean, I'll decide ultimately, but do you think I made the right call? Like, is this a good entry point with the first gen Pixel to pair with my Pixel phone? Like, will I have a pleasant experience, you think?
Yes.
Good.
Knowing what I know about you as well, I don't think that you would particularly like how the Samsung experience really requires you to steer Samsung. And so for instance, I don't have home controls on my Samsung watch like you do on the Pixel, because Samsung wants me to install smart things and wants me to set up Bixby for routines, and I don't want to use those things. And I don't have, my primary phone isn't a Samsung phone. So, and yet I also have this annoying backup situation where I have to make sure that the watch is backed up through the Samsung Wear app, in addition to my Google account. And so it's there's positives and negatives, but I think for what you want to do, Ron, I think you made the right choice. Just maybe think about getting a bumper shell or something.
Well, you know how I feel about that.
What would a bumper look like on this watch?
It would look like Swatch. Remember the Swatch guards?
Yeah.
Am I dating myself?
I love this.
Dude, those are one of the most amazing things about this watch.
Those are pretty cool, right? Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. That's pretty low effort too to get one of those, I'm sure. Honestly, like I have said a few times, I have not played around with this really at all yet because I just got it. But I would have to say that, Ron, knowing how much you love the Pixel lineup, I don't know how the Pixel Watch isn't the wearable for you. You know what I mean? Because it's kind of created with Google's DNA. So there's probably a lot of overlap there. If you, person watching or listening, love the Pixel lineup of phones, you're probably, as far as wearables are concerned, I don't know why you'd go with any other wearable unless you have a very specific reason for that. And
that's what I thought during the presentation. I'm watching this and I'm like, wow, I already was considering, like, even before the announcement, I was like looking at the fossils and stuff like that. I was like, oh, maybe I get another watch. I haven't had a watch in a while. And then watching that presentation, I was like, oh yeah, cool. Count me in. Like, this is like, it totally wowed me, and I bought it during the presentation. So.
Yeah. Cool. So Flo, when do you expect your review to hit Gizmodo?
This week. I'm currently working on it right now. It's been hard to test the fitness stuff.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't sound like Google has made it easy to really.
Well, it's also me. Like,
it.
I'm not a super kind of gal, I'm not like checking an app to tell me if I need a rest day, because I'll just take it. If I want a rest day, I'll just take it. I don't care. So,
right. Yeah. Can I just say one other thing related to something we were talking about earlier about kind of tracking period and stuff like that? Yeah. I am of the opinion that smartwatches today need to consider that to be table stakes. I think that needs to be hands down 100% required on smartwatches, the way other random things are and have been table stakes for tracking fitness and whatever, because, well, just for the sheer fact that half of this world is women and they deserve to have something that is a part of their lives, all the time. They deserve to have the ability to do that right out of the box. So that's me on my soapbox.
Correct.
When a smartwatch now comes out and doesn't do that, I think they're totally doing it wrong.
Yep.
I agree. I just want to say not all women have periods. Just one thing to mention. So it's not just a women's health thing. It's a human health thing. But I also want to say that part of my frustration with the current crop of watches, both from Apple and the Android world, is that they're all very much made for, and I understand why, because the idea is to sell these units to people who like want to track things and people who are going to spend money and join the ecosystem. But I would love a watch that just like tells me my general well-being. How am I doing? Am I okay? Should I go to the doctor maybe? Like, has my blood pressure been low lately? All things that I think they are working on behind the scenes, but it's hard like not to feel left out of the marketing of these wearables.
Yeah, I wonder like what is the line that they're allowed, or they don't feel like if they cross this line, then they enter into total liability territory when it comes to, we think you're not okay, we think you need to see a doctor. I'm sure there are regulations that also are at play there as far as what Google can or can't do when it comes to, the devices that you're wearing, giving you guidance in that regard. But I think at the end of the day, that's kind of like, it needs to get there.
I was just going to say, if Apple can do it and then figure out a way to like encrypt that data so you can take it, so it complies with HIPAA regulations or whatever. Mm-hmm. That's what sells devices at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So
cool. Well, everybody check out Flo's upcoming review of the Pixel Watch. All you got to do is check out Gizmodo, of course. That's where she's writing all her fancy stuff.